Hi, it's Wednesday Night Live. Welcome, welcome. I'm a couple minutes behind because I just had to get in my house and be all ready for you. This is actually a really great question that I wanted to talk about because I'm really frustrated with the amount of importance that we all put on the scale. I've actually had some clients, some former clients, some friends of mine this week, kind of vent some frustrations, and I want to really, first of all, this is the first time I've ever done this. I'm actually going to ask you some questions first. I want you to think about some things before I even start to talk about my opinion of what I think about the scale, because I definitely have my own opinion of the scale. But so here's my questions. I actually been writing them down today. So first of all, I want you to think about one thing. What does the scale really mean? Like, what does it mean? We put a lot of importance on the scale. We talk about weight loss. There's an entire industry built around how you should feel about yourself and what the scale tells you. And not only do I think it's absurd, it's unnecessary, but we'll get to that in a minute. I really want you to think about what actually does that number really mean. We're going to come back to that in a second. The next thing I want you to think about, question number 2, again, I'm asking you questions this time around first, just to kind of get your thought process going. Number 2, what is your goal? I mean, really, when it comes to health and fitness, what is your goal? Are you kind of encompassing it in the whole, hey, I want to lose weight? Or does it mean something different? Let me give you some things to think about here. Is your goal more to be overall healthy? Are you kind of wrapping what the scale tells you in that? Is your goal to actually have more energy, feel a little more alive, feel good on a daily basis instead of fatigued or tired or some of those things that come with our lives, our daily crazy lives? Is your goal more to wear a smaller clothing size? Is that part of it? I mean, are we wrapping in the scale what our weight is, as opposed to, hey, I want to be a smaller clothing size. I want fat to burn off certain places. Do I want to have less fat on my body? How about better shape? Is your goal to have just a better overall shape? Enjoy dressing yourself a little bit more? Or how about to be a little more tone? We already discussed in past that tone and muscle go together. Okay, get over it, people. If you want to be toned, you actually have to put some muscle on, because you cannot tone to fat. Fat does not have shape. So don't tell me that you don't want to lift weights because you don't want to get bulky. You just want to tone. It doesn't work that way. We've discussed that. So keep in mind, what role does the scale really play when it comes to what you're trying to accomplish when it comes to health and fitness? Here's the next one. Okay, so we've already talked about 2 questions I want you to think about. And if you didn't hear them, you can go back and listen to this later. My third question for you tonight is, what do you think about when you step on the scale? Do you come up with, is it positive? Is it a positive feeling when you get on the scale? Or do you immediately come up with some really negative self-criticism about how horrible you're doing and, wow, I've worked so hard, now I'm failing? Like, really think about what it is that scale invokes to you, the feelings, the mood that it puts you in. I think most of us in general kind of equate the scale to a high number's bad, a low number's good. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about why I think that you technically should just throw the scale away. It's a tool. It is a tool, but the problem is I think we use it in the wrong context. So we're going to talk about that. So hopefully you heard all those questions. I want you to think about, what does the number on the scale really mean? I want you to think about, really, what is your goal? Like, specifically, is it to really lose less weight, or is there more to it? And also, what do you think about when you step on the scale? Does it become kind of a negative overall meaning, or does it motivate you? For some people it does, but I'm finding that on the contrary, that's usually not the truth. So keep this in mind, that I really truly believe that your weight does not necessarily, it's not always a reflection of good health. Weight is just that. Weight means, what do you weigh as according to, hey, even a sack of potatoes, okay? Couple of things. First of all, here's what a scale is not, okay? Or what it does not tell you. First of all, the scale does not tell you what your body mass is. It doesn't tell you how much of that weight is fat, how much of it is bone structure, how much of it is muscle. So it doesn't tell you what your body composition is, okay? So keep that in mind. I've weighed the same amount. I've weighed a certain amount of weight at 2 times in my life and been completely different body fat percentages. We're talking like 30% body fat as opposed to weighing the same amount and being 10 or 12% body fat. Not even the same type of person. My shape wasn't the same. I'm a completely different person at this point in my life than I was at the first point when I weighed that same amount. So again, the scale cannot tell you about your health, about your overall general health. The scale cannot tell you how much of that weight is hydration. I giggle all the time because people will say, gosh, how can the scale fluctuate so much from day to day? Okay, let's think about it. I always challenge my clients to drink a gallon of water. I know it's kind of a standard, but most people don't get enough water to begin with. I figure if I challenge them to a gallon, and even if they come up short a little bit of that, they're at least getting a good amount of water. How much does a gallon of water weigh? It's actually right around 8.35 pounds. Okay, so keep that in mind. If you just drank a gallon of water and you get on the scale, you have not put on 8 pounds of fat in one day. You cannot gain that much fat in one day. So your body is going to fluctuate when you get on the scale. It's not going to tell you how much of that is hydration. We'll talk a little bit about why it might fluctuate here in a second. But it doesn't tell you that. It also doesn't tell you if you're a clothing size. Let me give you a really good example of someone who was really kind of a frustration on my part, just because all I heard from this person who shall remain nameless, and this was a gentleman that I've trained for a while. He was so excited because his waist was shrinking, his belt buckle, he was getting a tighter and tighter belt loop or a belt hole in his, actually had to drill holes in his belt because his belt was just still too big. But the moment that he got on the scale and realized he hadn't dropped much more than 2 pounds, he was devastated. Okay, I don't get it, right? Your body's telling you that you are now in a smaller pant size, that your waist has obviously shrunk in inches because you're having to do your belt up tighter. Why does the scale dictate how you feel about yourself? That makes absolutely no sense. And it's guys too, because again, this was a gentleman that I was training. So, it can't tell you health-wise really where you're at. It also cannot tell you how you're changing on the inside, right? Realize your body, we've talked about this before, your body burns fat from the inside out. And even if you don't see outward changes, the moment you start to eat healthier, start to exercise, there are changes happening on the inside. You just don't necessarily see that appear on the outside for the first couple, maybe even the first few weeks. It takes your body a little while to actually show you what's happening. So it cannot show you the changes that are happening on the inside. The scale can also not tell you how strong you are. Right? So if your goal to progress is lift heavier weights in the gym or something, be faster at the mile, the scale doesn't tell you that. It might tell you that you're lighter so you can run a little bit, maybe faster, but not really. I really don't see that as a benefit. So, it really can't tell you about your health. Some person, I might have someone same height, same weight, and one person is 30% body fat. Right? Remember that skinny doesn't necessarily mean healthy either. Skinny in my book is a 4-letter word. Skinny doesn't really mean much. It just means that they don't necessarily gain weight easily. But that can't. I've actually known obese, skinny people. Obesity comes in the body fat percentage. So someone who is tiny, but has very little muscle, and has a lot of fat, they can actually be, well, we all call it skinny fat, but I've seen it. I've seen skinny, obese people. It does exist. So skinny doesn't really mean healthy. Hi, B. So here's a couple of things, okay? We just talked about how your body weight can actually fluctuate just from your water intake. Your body weight can fluctuate from your sodium intake. If your sodium balance is off a little bit, and it's not actually the sodium itself, it's the electrolyte balance. But if you have been drinking or had more sodium intake and not enough water, your body actually might retain water. Drinking more water doesn't actually make you retain water. Drinking not enough water actually makes you retain water. So if you've had more sodium and not enough water, your body's not flushing. You might have retained some water there. If you've had a day with more carbs, okay, funny story. So have a little gal that I worked with for a while, and she had her free meal, and then she went to her Weight Watchers meeting the next morning, and bless her heart, she was doing amazing. She was doing amazing, but because she'd had her cheat meal the night before and had a lot more carbs, Her body retained more water. Your body actually retains water when the carbs absorb the water. She couldn't figure out why she was up. I said, probably not the best choice to have a cheat meal the night before you get weighed in for something to that fact. But that's a whole other story. But, your body can actually hold on to more water. Same thing for women, if you are at a certain point in your menstrual cycle, you will feel bloated. You retain more water. Your body needs that in order to help flush. So again, you can't be devastated when the scale is up or down. I've actually fluctuated 8 pounds in a week pretty easily, depending on what's going on. But I can tell that my body is changing because I can tell by my clothing and some other factors that I work in. We're going to talk about that in a minute. If your digestive system isn't doing, up to par, and TMI. If you're constipated, you're holding on to stuff in your digestive system, you're going to be up a little bit. It doesn't mean that you've gained more fat. It just means your body has not flushed itself. So, those are reasons why the scale might be up. Stop stressing over it, right? It doesn't mean enough. That is the reason why I actually look at multiple measurements when it comes to what people's goals are. Because to be honest, again, most people don't realize that really weight loss isn't really what they're working for. A lot of times I do ask, are you looking for a smaller body, or are you looking for weight loss? Right? Because they don't necessarily go together. It is one of the main reasons I ask my clients to take pictures every 4 weeks, because you don't always see it. But when we side by side those pictures, all of a sudden your changes become clear, right? So, focus on what really your goal is. We talked a little bit about that. So measurements, when I work with people, in the very beginning, we do take weight only because I need it for their body fat percentage. I use calipers, okay, the handhelds. They go off the hydration on your body, by the way. Number 2, we tape. We do circumference. That tells me a ton. So between that and the body fat percentage is huge. The pictures tell me more than just is their body changing. I look for muscle in certain places depending on what their goals are. Is their body changing the way that they choose? Is the physique coming in the way that they choose? So whether they're just starting and they're just needing to burn some body fat and see their body change even in that way, or whether they're dialing it in and creating a very specific physique, so like to get on stage. Either way, those pictures tell me everything that I need to know. So again, the scale is only one thing, guys. It just doesn't tell you enough. So let's go back to our original questions really quick. So hi, Jenny. I love seeing everybody. It's so much fun. Wish y'all pop up like I do. I could see you down at the bottom. That'd be awesome. So let's go back to our original questions, okay? So what do the numbers on the scale really mean? Right? Are they really what you're looking for? Do you really need to lose weight? I understand it in a lot of circumstances, in the doctor's office, in the military. I think it's really stupid how the military looks at numbers and uses a BMI as a tool. I just find it ridiculous. But that's a whole other story. The numbers, all the numbers mean is how much you weigh. Again, it doesn't tell you enough information. It doesn't tell you how healthy you are. So you've got to sit down. This is your challenge. I want you to sit down. For those of you that have really been struggling and really trying to, maybe not getting where you want to go, I want you to think about what truly is your goal, okay? Number 1, really what's your goal, right? Is it to wear a smaller pant size? Is it to just feel better? And then number 2, I want you to figure out how you're going to measure and track that. Okay, so how I work with people is we really take a look at what their individual goal is. Okay, we look at what they're doing that's obviously not getting them where they want to go. We look at a formula to get them where they want to go. And of course, it's not just exercise, people. You still have to do things across the board. You still have to eat well. You still have to get enough sleep. You still got to reduce stress in your life. Okay, all those things hopefully in that formula will get you where you want to go. If they aren't, we have to change a variable. And yes, I know that sounds super scientific, but it takes the guessing game out of the equation. I already did that. I tried for years and years. I am 42 years old, and until I was about 34, 35 years old, I did not understand how the body worked. I tried for years to lose weight. I could not figure it out. That scale would be frustrating to me every turn. until my goal changed. My goal changed into wanting to get stronger, and that changed my entire life. So think about really what you want your goal to be. And guys, let's talk about it. I'd love to hear what you think. I'd love to hear what your goals are. Honestly, I'd love some feedback on this. Really, what do you think of the scale? What does it mean to you? Post something down below so that I can see everybody popping up here. I find that super fun. I'm fascinated by how we as a society look at health and fitness and beauty, for that matter. Again, I have my own opinions. So I have some great information coming up the next couple of weeks. I've been doing a lot of research. Tomorrow we get to go to a conference in Seattle that's all about increasing learning in my business as a personal trainer and as a coach. So I'm super excited to do that. I get to see some people there as well. Great things happening. The business is expanding like crazy. Not going to complain. It's great. I apologize if I haven't gotten right back to you. For those of you that have been asking me questions, it's been a little nuts. But anyway, I hope that you learned something from tonight. I hope that you really take a look at what that scale really means for what it is. Guys, it shouldn't dictate how you feel about yourself. It just shouldn't. So keep that in mind, and please give me some feedback. Also, if you have any other questions, please either leave a message. You can also email me at melissa@fillmorefitness.com. You know that I actually create these Q&A Wednesdays in response to the questions that I get from clients, people that I meet. People always have some great questions. So I figure if one person's asking, lots of people would like to know. So I might as well hop on here and answer that for you. So have an incredible evening. It's Wednesday. It's beautiful out. I'm super excited that the sun's coming. Yay me, less cold. And I will see you next Wednesday. Have a good night, guys.